Hi, this is Ashley Swartz at CES 2014 for Beet. My top 10 list this year. We're going to do it from a quieter place of the show floor because, as you can see, the desert doesn't agree with this pasty redhead. Well, 2013 was a pretty good year because it seemed like every booth I was in actually had thicker carpet than last year, which tells me that it was a good year for folks and their P&Ls were doing a little bit better. So what are my top 10? So let's start with the fact that I wasn't aware the auto show and CES merged. I could not believe the huge show floor installations, the square footage taken up by automotive manufacturers. Not only do we have a keynote, which we did last year as well by Audi, but we saw connected cars everywhere. We saw smart cars, smart technology, things for within the cars themselves. It was omnipresent, and these guys were coming big and coming strong. Doesn't mean we should stop the hope and the investment in Detroit, though, by the way. Despite number two, despite the barbecue and the deep fried Snickers outside South Hall, digital health and fitness and wearable technologies were pretty big. So whether it's a smartwatch, there was a smart ring released at the show, health and fitness were omnipresent as well. And if you read the last issue of Wired magazine, it's a belief that the current acceleration for wearable technologies is going to be 2x of mobile over the next 5 years. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. Number three. Midlife crises are an effective marketing platform for consumer electronics manufacturers. Because I got to tell you, again this year, the theme was big, size does matter, 4K, UHD, and flexible technology and curved screens, right? It's interesting because upscaling was more present in the conversation. There was not a ton of 4K content showed off, but at the end of the day, folks were talking about upscaling and be able to sort of transcode that 1080 DPI content into 4K content so that we do actually have content to show on these screens and take advantage of it. We saw some sports first and foremost, which look amazing in 4K. Number four, it was still so evident, and even more so this year than last year, that Samsung is really taking a walled garden platform approach. Even the way they architected the booth this year was so sort of obvious in the way that they've set up the platforms between Galaxy, their TVs, and everything else. They've launched an enterprise platform, and that was something that I think stood out in the Samsung booth, as sort of differentiating them from everyone else. They're really trying to sell an ecosystem, not just a set of products. Number five, Sony, okay. So first of all, they may have launched a pay TV platform. That's a whole other segment discussion. But there were no UIs to be seen anywhere on their smarter connected televisions in their booth. There was a little bit of search and discovery, but there was absolutely no user interface, nothing. We saw sort of no innovation in the user experience, and applications on the television were not part of the conversation at all. So curious to see where they're heading in the next sort of 6 to 12 months in regards to streaming content, IP content, and apps over the television. And if the PS4 is actually their whole platform to do that, and they're exiting the smart TV business. Number six, needs a cable box. Because every single booth that we went into for OEMs or televisions, and even some of the cable guys, right? The box itself has become less and less important. I mean, the sort of key selling point in Dish's booth this year was the fact that you only need one box and you get your household up and running. We saw in Qualcomm's booth, there was a television with an integrated chipset that was 4G LTE streaming, and it was beautiful and amazing. So I think at the end of the day, this is sort of an acceleration curve of if we're getting content over these 10-foot experiences in the television, living room, or other devices with no need for a cable or that last mile, what's that mean for the ecosystem overall, and maybe even cord cutting in the next 12 months. Number seven. Holy Chinese OEMs again. And what does a $350 smart TV mean for the US marketplace? So last year, Hisense made some waves because they took over Microsoft's footprint on the show floor. This year, we had two more players, TLC and Changhong, on the floor with pretty big square footage. What's that going to mean for the US marketplace? And when are we going to start seeing these guys in places like Costco? What's that mean for Vizio right now, who in percentage of total market share is the biggest player in the US? Number eight. Web OS all over the place on all these smart TVs, and damn is it sexy. It is amazing what HTML5 and simple JavaScript brings to the television. Beautiful experience, interactive overlays, simple, makes content more discoverable, it's fluid, it's sticky, it's beautiful. Gotta say that I really think this may be the year of coming for smart TVs and connected television sets. 9, fluid content. Whether it was Dish, all the chip guys, Qualcomm, Intel, etc., all the OEMs, we're all talking about the fluidity of content. TV is not the wall, not the screen on the wall anymore. It's the content that ebbs and flows throughout the house, the living room, and beyond, right? Dish spoke about its sort of authenticated services that go now beyond the home and the local wireless network. It's because the fluidity of content is paramount to everyone throughout the top to bottom of the value chain in the ecosystem, and that's going to mean a lot for advertising and per dollar shift over the next 10 to 12 months. It makes makes even more value, it increases the value of data ever more so, and specifically where we see television and digital converging. 10, the big one. Google who? And what does that mean? Because Google was nowhere to be seen. They never really have a lot of presence on the floor per se. But more importantly, in all the OEMs and a lot of the other booths, typically Google was featured. There was Google TV, Google Apps, Android, etc. Google was really not that present. So I don't know if that's good or bad, and what that says is that maybe they're just sort of waiting for their second coming, or at the end of the day, Apple makes so much noise in television and they're really not very highly visible at CES either. They sort of choose not to partake. Anyway, it was a great show. A lot of the same, but a lot of really interesting stuff. And I think what I take away from this every year is it's really not what you experience out on the show floor. It's the delta from year to year that gives you this sense of direction and trajectory of the marketplace and where it's heading. And most importantly, where ad dollars should be going over the next 12 months. I will see you back next year. Hopefully next time I'll have a little bit more of a voice to offer you. Great 2014. Thanks.